Greetings. Welcome back to Imagine If. I'm your host as always, The Butler. This segment is called Real versus Fake Scary Stories. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I'll be telling you a creepy, scary, or paranormal story today. It will be up to you, the viewer, to determine if this story I'm about to tell is true or if it's completely made up from my creative imagination. At the end of the show, I will tell you if this story was real or completely fake. Today's story is about a present-day time traveler. Although time travel may seem impossible to a lot of people, I urge you to have a complete open mind. Are you ready to play? My name is Emily, but all my friends call me M. I was adopted at an early age. Unfortunately, my parents left me in a dumpster when I was less than 2 months old. I've never actually met my parents. I grew up in a foster home. Fast forward to present day. Last week, I had an experience that made me question life itself. I'm a registered nurse at a major hospital on the East Coast. For the last 18 months, I've been working in the hospice department. I was taking care of one particular patient for a little over 2 weeks. The patient's name was Marco. Marco was an older patient that I immediately felt a connection with. Marco was a retired Air Force pilot. Marco knew he was dying, but had high spirits. He told me stories of him traveling around the world and meeting new people and cultures, which I found extremely interesting because I've always wanted to travel but never really did. Unfortunately, he was suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. He did speak English, but he had a very thick accent which I could not pinpoint. Monday night I had a lucid dream, which I've never ever experienced up until this point. In my dream, I was flying an aircraft with a co-pilot that I've never seen before. The co-pilot was a young kid with dark hair and sunglasses. I felt like I was in complete control until the plane started to fail. The engine stopped and the plane began to descend at an incredible rate. I looked over to see the young kid, which was the co-pilot, and instead of the co-pilot being there, I saw myself. Seconds later, the plane crashes into a mountain, and then I wake up in a cold sweat with my heart pounding and my brain racing. The next day, I told Marco about my dream that I had, and he just kind of chuckled. I asked him, "Marco, what's so funny?" He just said sometimes dreams are mirrors to our reality. I didn't know what that meant, so I just brushed it off and went on about my day. Tuesday night, I had a very similar dream, except this time there was no co-pilot, and I was flying over an ocean or a large body of water at minimum. This time, there was no co-pilot. It was just me. As I looked down, I could see crystal clear water with all different types of sea creatures swimming around. And then out of nowhere, the engine began to fail again. I looked over in the passenger seat and I saw a little girl sitting there, looking out the window as if nothing was going on. I asked her who she was, and as she turned around and looked at me, the plane smashed into the water with me only getting a glimpse of her face. I immediately woke up, but only for a couple minutes, and then I fell back to sleep. When I entered my dream the second time, I was floating in the water, and my body seemed to be lifeless. It seemed like I was hovering over the body of water, I could actually see my body floating inside the water. I saw a man pretty much appear out of nowhere, swimming right next to me. He pulled me out of the water and onto the shore. The man performed CPR, and as I opened my eyes and took my first breath after an apparent drowning, I woke back up. When I woke back up, something extremely creepy happened. In my hands, I had a passport. I lived alone, and I've never seen a passport, let alone had one in my household. I opened it up. The passport was the passport of Marco. The passport was dated 1953. I was off work Wednesday and Thursday, but I returned to work Friday morning. When I returned to work that morning, my coworkers told me, unfortunately, Marco had passed away. I was so confused about everything, especially how in the hell did I get a passport from him, Marco, in my hands? This is the creepiest thing that has ever happened to me. When I got back home Friday evening, I had a letter in my mailbox that was dated April 18th, 1964. That was the actual postage stamp mark. When I opened the letter, I immediately noticed that there was an older birth certificate. It also had a handwritten note attached to the envelope. The handwritten note stated that this letter came from Marco. Creepy, scary, and unbelievable. Marco was my father, and my real name was Elizabeth. This letter also stated that my mother's name was Angela. This letter said that Marco had traveled to the future, and he traveled to the future to make sure that my life would be a smooth success. According to the handwritten letter, Marco and my mother had separated at some point, and she became addicted to drugs. She was actually doing drugs while she was pregnant with me, before moving out of the country without a trace. According to the letter, my father Marco had nothing to do with my mother's decision to leave me in a dumpster. The letter also included that I may be having some out-of-body experience or lucid dreams prior to reading this letter. The letter explained that Marco was the man who pulled me out of the water in my lucid dream that I had. Sleep tight.